Among other things, the plans call for deeper spending and staff cuts at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and were outlined in a less detailed skinny budget. And then scroll down to the other places you noticed. Okay, the request largely confirms cuts outlined in documents that leaked last month. It proposes to cut NIH's discretionary budget by about 40% or $18 billion to $27.5 billion and consolidate NIH's 27 institutes and centers into just 8. The reorganization would preserve National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, a couple of other places, but eliminate institutes studying minority health, alternative medicine, nursing, and global health. The remaining institutes would be folded into 4 new ones. Biomedical research proponents sharply criticize the proposed cuts. If the proposal is enacted, Americans today and tomorrow will be sicker, poorer, and die younger. Why do they want to do this, I wonder?
Well, some of it has to do with, they want to save money. I don't think this is a place to save money. Something that has to do with an actual hatred for academic scientists and people in the public health world. I think it's become a partisan issue in a way it shouldn't be, right? Everybody gets sick and everybody benefits from new therapies. For years and years and years, it didn't matter what side of the aisle you were on. Republicans supported biomedical research, Democrats supported biomedical research. It was something that people agree on. Mm-hmm. Now, just in these last in this last time, it's starting to, really since COVID, it started to get really politicized. And, the Trump administration will tell you, oh, this is waste, fraud, and abuse, or this all has to do with like DEI efforts, and that's the only stuff we're cutting. But it's nonsense. 40%, it's a fucking hatchet, right? It's not just, oh, we got rid of a few bad studies that were misguided or some waste or fraud that we found over here. It's like we are going to cut it down to the bone. And when that happens, the therapies to help everyone's families for cancer, for heart disease, for mental health, for everything that you're hoping for, new therapies and cures, all that stuff's coming to a screeching halt. And the United States has been the world leader on this. This is a place where America absolutely kicks ass. We are the acknowledged world leader in biomedical research. Wow. And to give it up would be the stupidest fucking thing we could possibly do.
How much of the funding is negatively influenced by big pharmacy stuff? I'm just wondering, is that because otherwise I don't understand. This doesn't make that much sense.
Just to be clear, this funding doesn't go to drug companies. Okay. Right? This funding goes to research institutes, it goes to universities, and it goes to the NIH itself in Bethesda, Maryland, where some of the research is done. This funding, by and large, this isn't a way that the government is subsidizing Pfizer or Lilly or any of these giant corporations. These corporations are really good at taking an idea and turning it into a product, right? Okay, they're not good at the basic research that gives the idea to do it.
Got it.
In the first place.
Is there anything in there that tells Pentagon? That's defense stuff. That's horrible. Department of Homeland Security. I feel like all these people are building us up to be in some type of a war. I don't even know. It's very scary days. Oh, the budget proposal aims to cut funding for research related to radical gender ideology and diverse racialism. That sounds so vague, though.
Well, the truth is that, so there have been some grants that do involve stuff like that, but it's a tiny, 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 tiny fraction, right? Yeah. Don't believe that 40% of the NIH has to do with studying things like trans folks. I mean, I think it's perfectly legitimate to study trans folks myself.
Oh, yeah, I'm curious about them. Most people are curious.
Even if you think that's bad, that's like a tiny, tiny fraction of the NIH. There's not 40% of that to be cut.
I wish we could talk to someone who was involved with, I don't know if it's DOGE or what the exact group is that's organizing a lot of these proposed cuts.
Well, you've had RFK Jr. on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Maybe if we get to have him back on and we get to talk to him about it.
He's the one who's involved in this, and the new head of the NIH and the new head of the CDC. These are all folks that are fundamental to this.
Yeah. What did that article say about RFK? I saw the one part. Let me see. The budget request reflects priorities advanced by the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., including a focus on food additives and chronic diseases at the expense of infectious disease studies and a real-world data platform to allow scientists to study the causes of autism. Oh, that's awesome. It also proposes using artificial intelligence and big data analysis to research the exposome, the collection of environmental factors that can influence human health. So I wonder if they're just trying to redirect it to things that he cares more about.
Well, so I think the thing to realize is, first of all, it's a 40% cut. So it's not like you're taking the same pot of money and then just reshuffling around to different priorities. First of all, you start with a 40% cut. And then the 60% that's left, you're going to take away from stuff like vaccines and put it into bullshit cold plunge therapy and other stuff that are his pet projects.
Yeah. But
I mean,
curious
let me just be clear. RFK, there's some things where I really agree with RFK Jr. He is absolutely right that we should be taking a closer look at food additives. He is absolutely right that ultra-processed foods are a big problem in health. And he is absolutely right that environmental pollutants are a big problem in health, and there should be a lot more attention paid to that. Where I get off the bus has to do with cutting all these other areas that are so very, very promising.
Yeah.
And also with some of the other very unproven things that he has advocated for. So, for example, the drug ivermectin, he's a big fan of it for COVID and other things. It's nonsense. It doesn't work. It's not true. It's fraudulent. Don't believe it.
I've had friends that have taken it, have had success with it.
Yeah, well, that's the reason we don't make biomedical policy based on anecdotes that something that happened to our buddy, right?
Yeah.
We do studies for it, right? And so, like I go and I take some vitamin C and I feel better from my cold. Well, maybe I was going to get better anyway. We don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe the vitamin C did something. Well, what's the way to know that? You have to do a real controlled study the proper way.
Assuming that that there aren't budget cuts, or even assuming that there are, right? What do you feel like the next 10 years of biomedical research looks like?
Well, I think it's going to involve there are a lot of really exciting things that we're on the precipice of. One of them is really finally realizing the promise of individualized medicine. In other words, you go in, you give a little blood, or they scrape the cells from your cheek. They read a lot of your genetic situation, and they know how to give therapies that are precisely designed for you for the very best outcome and the fewest side effects. This is the sort of thing that's already happening in cancer, right? Like it used to be like you went and you'd say, oh, you got lung cancer. All right, well, we're going to treat you generically for lung cancer with the thing that works the best for the most amount of people. But it turns out that like depending on the flavor of what's in your tumor, actually for some people, it might be much better to get this one, and some people it might be better to get that one, right? And this is something where AI is actually and machine learning are extremely valuable. Another thing that's extraordinarily exciting is the use of gene editing technologies, so-called CRISPR. You may have heard that term. CRISPR is a technology for changing your DNA. So what this is, like if you have kids that are born with these rare genetic diseases where like there's a disease where you can't do your metabolism right and you build up ammonia in your body, and these kids die within a few years, right? So right now there's great promise for using CRISPR to be able to modify their DNA to correct the genetic deficit and allow them to live normally. This is just starting right now. It's, the very dawn of the age of CRISPR therapy, but the next 10, 20 years are going to see this sort of thing explode.
Is AI helping us?
AI is helping us massively, because there are certain sort of things where what you want to know is like what happens